Somehow the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl again, and I want to jump off my roof.
I mean, I don't really think it's a somehow. I get it.
I mean, I do too.
I wasn't hoping for it, but I mean, go Birds.
I mean,
guess.
everybody in America had the same feeling.
Oh yeah.
I was hoping
Bills had every chance.
Yeah,
they really did. I mean,
I was really hoping for like Bills Lions.
That would have been sweet.
Yeah, no.
That would have been sweet.
I mean, not me. I'm a Packer fan, so as soon as the Commanders took out the Lions, I was like, all right, see ya.
All right.
Kick rocks.
This is not, believe it or not, a NFL podcast. Evan, you want to introduce our guest, and we'll get into this thing really quick?
Yeah, the timing of this works out really well. Today was the Pulse preview show for 2025 WGI coming up.
Perfect.
So doing another throwback here to join us in watching 2010 Pulse, which really kicked off their start of gold medal winning. A member of the ensemble for I think a couple years at this point, 09-10, but joining us is Manny De Leon. What's up, man?
What's going on, guys?
Yeah, thanks for hopping in. Thanks for joining. I think this was your second year in the group, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you still did 11 and 12 after this. 12 was your age out?
Yeah, 4 total years performing.
Okay. Cool.
A lot of band, a lot of indoor. So we thought it'd be fun to bring Manny on and just some Easter eggs, some behind the scenes things like, oh, this happened that year. This is kind of like how this show came to fruition. Things that just the average fan wouldn't know.
Yep. So we're gonna watch the show. We have the finals run here. Go subscribe to Pulse Archives. I don't know if it's an active YouTube channel anymore. I think from what I saw, they upload just like the DVD runs or the finals run of Pulse. I don't know if it's run by the organization. If it isn't, still go subscribe anyway, just in case we're unaware of anything. But I have a question before we jump into this. And we mentioned we were going to ask this before we started when we were setting up. But that 2010 season, because we just reacted to Rhythm X 2010 with Chris Gary, and obviously Evan was in that group as well. You guys came from California and beat them finals week, yet they were like the talk of the town, I feel like, that season, because the show was very just like over the top, entertaining, and just innovative for that time in the activity. What were you all thinking when you were on your way out to Dayton for finals week? Like, how were you all feeling? Did you know you were like, yeah, we're clean as shit, like there's no way we're going to lose to them? Or like, what was your thought process?
Man, well, for one, what started like the year before in 2009 and then cemented in 2010 was going to Dayton and meeting up with everybody was definitely the real test, because obviously it's such a small pool when like you're in California, and it's really, at that time at least, it was just RC Pulse, just back and forth, just like who's going to take it in California. But then what cemented it in 2010 was going to Dayton. It's like, okay, we finally get a full week to just grind and see what we can make of it. And that year going into Dayton, we did not really think we were, on our part, the talk of the town, or that we were going to go there and like knock heads or anything. We were really just thinking, okay, we got to grind. And then it just so happened that in Dayton, everything starts to fall in line, because we get those, 10-hour day rehearsals that, like drum corps style. And then we just finally, all the way to finals, finally connected the dots.
I feel like a lot of groups just take that next step. The groups that do eventually take that next step, it happens that finals week, because like you said, you get that full week where nobody's going home. You have more than a day and a half to get stuff done, and you're just there consistently. And when you have the talent and experience, you really almost get that drum corps effect, that drum corps style bump in your clarity and consistency. So that makes a lot of sense.
Of course, we alluded to it in the X podcast, but I remember like when we saw you all at the Rhythm X preview show that year, we're just like, oh snap, like this is really good.
Like I don't know, like I feel like if I had to give it a percentage, we rode the line of like 80% clarity just kind of all season long. We didn't really dip down, we didn't really get much better, but then finals week it was just like boom. It's just like that's when it climbed.
Boom.
Yeah, so we were pretty consistent, but it was just not great all season long until finals.
Then it just, because stars aligned. Hey, you take it and run with it. Take it and run with it.
Yeah.
Don't ask questions.
Let's jump into this, and we're going to start at the top of the show. Feel free to stop us, jump in with any little nuggets or Easter eggs or funny rehearsal stories or whatever when your memory gets jogged here. All right, but before we do, go ahead. No.
Oh, I was just gonna say, even right off the back, like just the way the setup is with the props and stuff. I always thought it was hilarious because I feel like a lot of people didn't notice, but just like the back, like big, large floor tom setup and those little tiny stairs, like members will just get up there and they stand up there for the entire show, just waiting to play just one little section at the end of the show, and they just wait.
I did not know that. So I'm gonna
wait for it.
Yeah, right. It makes sense.
Exactly.
It's on brand, on theme. Before we jump in, for those that don't know, this is Aged Out Reacts. We're the two hosts of the Aged Out podcast, Michael Fantini and
Evan Worrell. Yeah.
We've already introduced our awesome guest today. AgedOutPodcast.com. Grab a shirt or t-shirt if you want to support us. Join button, Patreon, support us financially there. Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. And let's go.
Here we go. Worth the wait. Little Ron de Jam entrance.
Yeah, back when drill and bodywork was just drill and bodywork.
Yeah, right. Much simpler time.
The opening is good, though. It has several, like, just kind of subtle teases.
Mm-hmm. I love the symmetrical drill.
And funny enough, right here, this drill moment with the snares was a reprise of the ending drill moment of 09 Pulse.
Huh.
Just the inner circle with the outer circle, something so simple. John liked it, and he just threw it in there to start the show off.
If it ain't broke.
Yep. Man, that phrase took a long time to build. That was a long build. Then you don't give it to him. It's perfect.
Did he give her a pop ring? What was that?
Yeah, I think it's roses throughout the show.
Okay.
Like, that's one little, you say a pop ring?
Yeah. Ring pop.
I want to say it was there. If I remember correctly, there was members throughout the show giving her like a rose, like shooting their shot, as you will.
Yeah.
Okay.
But obviously they weren't the right one, and then when the ballot hits, obviously that's when it shows the real storyline.
It's like a season of The Bachelorette. All right, here we go.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah, sort of.
Indoor Drumline Bachelorette edition, everybody. I backed up because everybody pay attention to this phrase started with two snare drummers. Obviously, the front's doing their thing, but from a battery standpoint, two snare drummers, and that it is a long build that's paced really well. And then they don't give you the payoff, which obviously, again, is on brand for the show, but it's just like it never gets to that double, triple forte you want it to. So it's just really well paced. Just pay attention.
To those who wait.
Gosh, I hated cleaning those left hands. Just continuous 8 notes on the left hands. Jeez.
Don't change.
Got to stay locked in.
Yeah, even the accents are still just like a forte there. That's what we call effect, people.
Yeah, it's definitely a rose. Or flower or something.
See, those guys in the back just went up onto the steps.
This first tap roll.
I'm pretty...
Oof.
Little fivelet.
That phrase definitely changed.
These drums are articulate.
I feel like that is like the same thing that people do in bass breaks today. Like that's one thing through the activity that doesn't seem like it's really evolved a ton. Like it stood the test of time. Like, oh, we're gonna have some like and like the basses are gonna spin around and do some spins and like it's just gonna be great. So
yeah.
So I backed up again. Which phrase you said changed a lot?
So right before the bass break hits, there's some quick 16-note singles, and it's just double accented,
Mm-hmm.
like. But those originally were written as 4 up, 2 down, and we just couldn't make it happen, and it got axed pretty quick. So it's supposed to be and it.
Oh, wow.
So it just turned into simple singles.
The front 2 accented. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like how more simple can you make it than just 2 accents?
It happens.
Damn.
The ninelets. Yeah, just reads really well.
Yep.
I feel like that's the phrase of defining this whole show. It just reads really well the entire time.
Yeah, because I remember hearing you guys talk about it in the X aged out React for 2010, and like you couldn't have hit it more on the head about just like the difficulty and the change between the two shows, because like from day one it was, and pretty much everybody jumped on board pretty quickly, is that it was just like, no matter what we have to remove, we're going to try to be as clean as possible. Like we don't care if we have to remove a flange drag or whatever, a rim shot. Like we just need to be as clean as possible.
Yeah.
And it definitely worked in the end. But yeah, you guys definitely at X in 2010 were playing all the notes that everybody wanted.
I feel like, though, if a group is trying to like break a barrier, though, there's that thought of like, if we're gonna get credit, like we're kind of the new dogs in the game, like we're gonna have to be undeniable. And I think that ultimately, Pulse 2010, like that's what it exuded, is like undeniable clarity. Is like, oh, and even we talked about it in the X reaction, it kind of set a new standard for what clarity was achievable for an indoor season. It's like, oh, if we're gonna play that clean, like we better figure some stuff out. So
no, that exact conversation happened like early on, big group meeting of like, hey, let's get rid of the stigma of indoor clarity versus outdoor clarity. And it was like, how close can we get, and is it actually possible?
Yeah. Well, kudos.
Yeah, you got there. I'd say it's probably still one of the cleaner indoor groups indoor drum lines I've heard for sure.
Yeah. Really kind of just now finishing the big opening statement. So, long phrase.
All good things must come to an end.
Dude, this part reminds me of the Jim Carrey movie, The Mask, for some reason. I don't know.
Well, the fact that you even bring up a movie is like on brand, because like there was a lot of moments in the front ensemble music that was like supposed to be music, like our movie quality or movie-esque.
Very long run. Just
yeah.
Jeez.
I can't remember if that was supposed to be the longest run in our front ensemble indoor history.
Like that was their goal.
But this role was supposed to be. They told us day one.
It's long.
So before we do that, pause real quick though.
Pause.
Was there a conversation about like, X did like the long roll last year, we're gonna make this even longer?
It was sort of there. Like we all knew how X did at the end of 09 and at the end of the show, and it was like, man, that was a cool moment. And then John, when he was introducing the show to us, played like a piece of it, and I don't think it was complete at the time, but he said, hey, the goal is right here because we've looked through, like the past and different shows, and we think this will be the longest triplet roll in indoor history. And we're like, oh, okay, cool.
Cool. Don't fall out.
It's pretty long.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure if there's been one as long since. Somebody let us know of another year's show since this that has a super long roll, because none that are this long are coming to mind. I'm sure the long roll has been done, but this one's really long. and put the dynamics throughout.
Yeah.
So long.
Great. Mentally stay in it too, locked in, not changing grip pressure.
This
But
is
man,
just
like there was a show. It was the weekend, I believe, before going to Dayton. Because you know how there used to be the Centerville preview show.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, in SoCal, there used to be a send-off show, and so everybody who was gonna go to Dayton showed up, and it'd be like 10 or 15 groups, and everybody would get to do a run, get the floor on and off, just get, tighten things up a bit, to get ready. And that show, there were so many moments like that triple roll that completely fell apart, where literally it got, because also that moment would always get quiet, like the crowd would just be silent, everybody's just listening in, and then all of a sudden people were literally like breaking, like trying to get back in, flipping their sticks, trying to get figure it out. It was a mess. And then for some reason, people still cheered at that show. And then right after it, which you'll see, is there's a quad moment later where same thing. They were supposed to come in and hit a Spock shot, and everybody was like, "We don't know what we're doing," hitting at different times. Like the whole show had moments that just fell apart, like that triplet roll, and we're like,
"Oh man,
we're going to Dayton with this." Oh no,
that's wild, man. To hear that stuff like the week before, and how put together and just so much cleaner than everybody else you all were when you got here. Like that's mind blowing to hear that. It's cool, but it's just wild. I would have never guessed.
Yeah, and it was like an exhibition style show. I'm like, why are we all just falling apart?
Yeah, there's no pressure.
Yeah. That's why they call it Magic Week at the end.
They really do.
Yeah.
X calls it the pixie dust. Yeah. I don't know if they still do. They used to. Finals week, fairy dust.
Yeah. They did that in 09 because they were atrocious in 09 going into finals week too.
I've heard many horror stories.
Little Cellarondo. Classic West Coast.
Yeah, we started that in 09. We're like, you know what? Let's bring it back to this funky moment.
I just can't help but think every time I watch a show from this era, like how far the activities changed and come, even in just like the 12 with COVID and stuff, 12, 13 seasons or whatever. It's wild.
Yeah, I for sure would have been like saying stuff to her to try to get her to crack, like whose line is here anyway? Like, all right, don't mess up.
Okay, well, the inside info is we were definitely talking to her, trying to make the most of this moment, because all we're doing is, just marching around in circles. So we were talking to her, cracking jokes and stuff throughout.
Yeah, I mean, you got to.
How do you not, honestly? They tee it up for you like that to do that.
But here on finals night, he obviously kisses him here. That was the first and only time it ever happened.
Okay.
They kind of talked about it. I'm pretty sure they didn't tell the staff because it wasn't supposed to be that kind of moment, and they kissed anyways.
You gotta sell it.
And now finally the people came off their stoops.
This is their time to shine.
Yeah, they stood back there the entire show.
Did they rehearse with you all season?
Yep. And they would have to have dedicated to them of like, hey, you're not needed for this 4-hour block because you're just going to be standing there.
Right. We're not going to work on this section, so.
Yeah.
Stick tosses were
No
the
drops.
jam back in the early, mid 2005 to 2012 range. Everybody's doing stick tosses.
Yeah.
Classic. the little techno music. Woo!
It's pretty good.
Yeah. Just stand still and freaking throw
pretty
down.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember, well, like coming off the floor, we'll get to the end, I guess, too, but like coming off the floor, do you all feel like, yeah, that was like we popped one, like that was, we might have a shot?
100%.
Yeah.
I remember like a bunch of us in the snare line just screaming, running up the tunnel, like that was it. That was the one.
That's what you want.
That's a good feeling.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And little side note, I can't believe we still had some kind of good sound out of those drums. Those were borrowed like rented drums from Yamaha that were like old DCI drums from I want to say it was the Colts.
Times
like
have
the 08
changed,
Colts.
folks. Times have changed, folks. That's insane.
Yeah, because
they sound good on this.
They sound really good.
Yeah, we used to use Impulse's equipment, drum corps Impulse, and then once we like finally broke away and became truly independent in 2010, we didn't have any equipment, and Yamaha's like, well, we can't get anything to you that quick. We can do a deal and give you these used 08 drums from Colts. And they were beat. They were
Who tuned them? Shriver? Shriver taught that year, right?
Yeah, Shriver was like the number one. So if I remember correctly, yeah, it was him. But we were also messing with some experimental guts that they were a battle all year long.
Anytime you're trying to, it's cool, like the innovation and people create new stuff, but sometimes they're so temperamental, they like pop or they break or they just don't hold tune. It's new stuff's fun, but it can be a headache.
Yep.
Yeah, because we had to legitimately tune. I want to say we tuned guts like every Friday night for a rehearsal. Like we're starting the weekend off, tune the guts because they would just stretch sitting on in storage. They would just stretch, and we're like they sound all flappy. They're no longer tight.
Yeah, makes sense.
Attention to detail, folks.
And then you went out to Ohio and everything got cold.
Yeah, then it was cold and so crap.
It actually wasn't too bad that year. 2011 sucked. It was snowing
11's finals night was terrible.
Actually,
Rainy,
I remember
cold.
there's footage online. There's footage online of 2010. I know of us in rehearsal. And we're all just in t-shirts and shorts, just sweating outside rehearsing.
It was pretty warm in 2010.
Yep.
Every day, every night, from the first show to the last.
And this audio was only for finals.
Oh, okay.
The wait.
We literally had to wait to hear that at the end of the season.
Nice. You didn't even rehearse it, or just
No, they had a different sample, and the sample said it will be worth it.
Oh, okay.
All season long at like regular shows. It said, instead of saying this was worth the wait, it said it will be worth it. We never got the the ending statement until finals.
Nice.
This was worth the wait.
Yeah, these bass drums sound really good.
Yeah.
Oof, great edge work.
Wait for it!
Yeah. I mean, you kind of talked about it and alluded to it already, but it sounded like the organization made a pretty direct effort to, thrust themselves. Like 09 was a really competitive season. I think you guys finished fourth.
Yeah.
In the show. I mean, that Breathe show is still just has really cool moments, but it sounds like they made like concentrated effort to be like, all right, we're gonna try to like thrust ourselves into the next tier, because at that time, like I guess all the medalists pretty much around there were always ex MCM and RCC.
Yeah, we're definitely trying to get into the mix, and that's why like 2010 was not just worth the wait to show, but worth the wait for the group Pulse itself, because Pulse had been around since 05. And then 09, was like dipping our toes in the pool into the deep end, like, wow, maybe something can happen. And then 2010 was definitely like thrusting forward, like we're doing everything on our own. We're going to try to, fix everything that didn't work in the past, detached ourselves from like Impulse, became our own entity, if you will. This is also the first year we ever started a preview show. We had like a really legitimate audition process where it just felt like the group got legitimized in 2010.
I mean, even in 09, like the tarp was still like hand painted and stuff, and like now they're like, all right, we're gonna do a digital tarp.
Yeah, well, that floor right there is also painted.
Oh, really? You all hand painted it?
It's just no. They hired some guy who's like really good with it's like airbrushing, but like industrial side. So like,
oh, nice.
Like he was like in the middle of the floor and just like went in a circle and sprayed it and missed it, and to get like that faded like dark to light effect. But yeah, it's still painted. And on the bottom side of that floor is the breathe floor.
Okay.
So if you flip that over, it is the breathe floor.
Yeah.
Hey, dude. Whatever.
It's good to hear. It's almost like confirming some things that Evan and I have pushed on here on our podcast in general about when you're if you're that group that's not quite in the conversation yet, when in doubt, just do what you can or have to play clean. Even if that means watering the snare break, like if you just achieve clarity, it will be undeniable, and they can't take that away from you. They have to give you credit on the sheets. Yeah. Like when in doubt, you don't need to try and play the hardest, craziest, dense stuff ever. Just go for clarity, and you will probably end up going farther than you would have otherwise, especially when you're trying to assert yourself into the next tier of the activity. So it's interesting to hear you all say that. It's kind of just reaffirms some stuff that Evan and I've talked about a lot on here. But because you guys definitely pulled it off. It's probably still unreal.
I just don't even know how we really did it, because like looking back on like who was in it, because I remember again watching your guys' 2010X, and I think somebody said, I can't remember who said it, about like, oh yeah, that snare line was pretty stacked. They had this guy, and I'm like, we weren't stacked, because we, like, for instance, two of those snares, I think their highest level of playing was a senior in high school, at like a high school group.
That's even crazier. That's awesome.
Yeah, and we had like me, Nate, Isaac, like we were the more seasoned vets. We had Ricky, who had done a year at Vanguard with me, and Nate and Isaac. A couple other guys that just kind of like all kind of just fit in, but like, we weren't like stacked. We just all wanted the same goal. Yep. So that, I guess that was enough.
Sometimes when you have groups that are too stacked, not that people have egos that get in the way, but it kind of can impact it a little bit. Like when you have a bunch of people from a bunch of different groups that are all the alphas, for lack of a better way to put it. Yeah. You can butt heads a little bit. You can kind of like, no, I'm playing the right tempo. No, I'm playing the right. You know what I mean? Like when you have a clear, I don't want to call it a dominance hierarchy, but when you have something like that, everyone's just kind of doing what they're told. And then you have a small number of people that have been there before, can kind of take the reins, and everyone just comes along and they all just go after it. It can kind of work out better sometimes.
100%. I can attest to that just from being in both sides of it. Like I've been in a stacked line and a non-stacked line, and for some reason the non-stacked line did better.
Yeah, I believe it. Yeah, I believe it. But man, this was crazy insightful. That was a fast half an hour.
It's fun to live back to, just to like, I haven't watched this show in a while.
It's been a minute.
Yeah.
It's been a minute.
Yeah.
Clarity lasts forever.
Nobody can take it away from you. This video will exist forever on the DVD, or as long as this YouTube channel exists, and nobody can take it away from them. But you guys got anything else, or you want to wrap this up? I'll take the silence as I wrap it up. So
I'm good.
Thanks again, man, for coming on. It's great to talk to you again. You going to come out to Dayton anytime in the future, or DCI finals ever? Or
It's been on the list. It's just like usually it's like when you put that number in mind, you're like, oh man, how much money is that going to cost?
Yeah.
Nah, let's go on vacation.
Yeah. Not going to fault you for that. But thanks again, man. Sure. This was great. Aged-Out-Podcast.com, everybody. Join button here on YouTube, Patreon, Facebook, Instagram. Share the video with anyone you think would appreciate it, and we will catch everybody in the next one.
Peace.